Hey there everyone. Are you tired of the safeness of procuring specialized goods in the ever-optimization through corporate greed of our modern society? Do you ever wish to simulate the thrills of exchanging unorthodox wares like the olden days until all your ads are in Thai? Have you ever thought your collection was always meant for more? That you are not willing to settle for less? Well then, let us go undercover today. So I really went off the deep end for the second figure video, as I dove further into the rabbit hole of poor decision making known as figure collecting, and found a niche market within an already niche hobby that is this hobby. I figured, why not see what the unlicensed figure market has to offer that you cannot find anywhere else. The only way out is further in at this point. Welcome to the video, and today I would like to share my first-hand experience with tapping into the unlicensed figure market. Let us set the price tags for today's class though. This is advertised as the end game of the hobby, where pieces are on a different level of ambitious. It is also usually the place where you can find more creative liberties that sculptors take with their pieces, although they are certainly trying within the licensed market. But what are we looking for today is our question. Going back to the beginning, let us go for something that does not have a figure. As if we have not given the CCP enough of our personal information yet, let us look over to Genshin Impact. A series with scale figures that are made solely by one studio. With its immense popularity, they are still announcing figures at a snail's pace. Luckily, the patient audience were not left out in the rain. Before we begin, let's set some ground rules, because we can never be too safe with unlicensed products.
No one crosses this Pikachu. That's your set, and this is mine.
So number one, whatever project we are going after, it needs to have physical work-in-progress photos, not like rendered, pre-rendered Blender models that they post online with special effects. We need photos of them working on individual parts of the figure. Number two, I'd rather they be on an independent social media account. What I understand from unlicensed figure market is that they usually sell through Facebook groups, but they are usually locked, so you need to join and then get into all sorts of connection.
None of you will leave here alive.
Now firstly, the site you order from will differ depending on the country. I didn't immediately jump to the usual suspects for unlicensed figure like Ort's Garage Kit and whatnot and the likes when looking up where to order. This is because in my case, in my country, I actually have a middleman that is on Carousel. How they operate is by working closely with the unlicensed studio. Through Facebook, I just pay, and then they'll do all the paperwork for me. There's lots of benefits to this. They help us pay customs. They also have a personalized warehouse for us whenever we need a self-pickup. The shipping fee is also considerably cheaper compared to most other resin figures I heard being shipped. But let's first go through the steps of what happens when we contact one of the companies in Carousel. You'll first be invited into a WhatsApp group where you'll be shown the details through their business account. Here, there are 5 terms and conditions that you can find. Number 1. The figure will first be sent to their warehouse where you can decide to go pick them up yourselves, or have it delivered to you as a separate charge. Number 2, and this is what separates the figure market from PVC licensed market, where pre-ordering PVC figures are basically free, and you can cancel them anytime before they are finished and ready to be shipped.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
If you are willing to take your chances with the aftermarket. With resin figures, however, they are based on a deposit system where you must first pay a fraction of the whole figure, usually below half the price, before the studio can start manufacturing your figure. This alone pretty much destroys any chance of you getting it in the aftermarket. Refunds are also non-negotiable outside of the whole project being cancelled. There are also limited numbers of units to be made, but that rarely comes to pass. You'll see why later. After payment, you will receive a receipt of the purchase with all the details such as the estimate date of the release. Number 3, you are to pay the remaining balance of the figure price once they are finished, and failure to do so within the 10 limit will not refund your original deposit that you paid months ago. So make sure you can pay both the deposit and then the final figure price before pre-ordering, cause you are not getting that money back. Number 4. Once you receive the package via self-pickup or delivery from the supplier, there's a 7-day grace period where you can film your whole figure unboxing process to examine the final product. And then, if one of them comes broken, you can file for a replacement from the original studio. I think this will depend how severe is the damage. Like if it's an individual piece, they might send a replacement. If the whole thing is broken, then it's really hard to say. And finally, I think this also applies to PVC figures. The company has the final say on how the product looks in the end. Difference here is that you already paid for it no matter what, where PVC figures you can wait for aftermarket after seeing reviews. Now, with that all out of the way, let's actually see what figure I got for myself. To explain what I got, in a market predominantly filled with shonen figures, Genshin is one of the few series popular enough to penetrate the market. You're lucky to find something from a gacha game or a more niche series. The one character I'm looking for is Shenhe. She is the best.
We were, being intimate when she climaxed and accidentally turned into ice. Just for a second. But I was, still in there at negative 346 degrees. Same temperature as liquid nitrogen. As you can imagine, it snapped off.
And luckily for me, some crazy mofo on the other side of the planet thinks so too, and began making a 1/6 scale of her. This studio also have their own social media account on Twitter, where they post work in progress of this 1/6 scale throughout the months after pre-ordering. The reason why I chose this figure is because I'm not too keen on all the other resin figures I saw. They tried to go with the unrealistic faces, where I just want something standard as long as it looks good.
Who are you people?
But I think I stalled this introduction long enough. Let's get to the unboxing. So here we have the studio logo printed on, and then Shenhe spelled backwards, written in magic marker. The box is massive once we zoom out. Now let's open from the top. We can now see the light blue cardboard packaging. Here we have the design of today's star in all her glory and the studio logo at the side. Let's have a good look from the front. Now when we open from the top, we'll find some black foam packaging. As you can see, they are tightly secured with Velcro straps. The more you know. Once we remove enough layers to reach the middle, we will find 2 separate layers with all our figure parts wrapped in plastic. In there, they are all tightly buried under small foam cutouts that fit the shape of their individual holes. Here are all the parts after unboxing. Now we will first start the assembly with the base. It's a blue epoxy resin ice base. We can see how the light reflects off its surface. It has several holes that allows us to attach in all the figure parts. At the bottom, we can find some light foam cutout that will help the whole thing stay in place instead of slide around because of the epoxy resin. Now, let's look at the hands. It has some pretty nice details and the coloring are very vibrant, especially on resin. The other hand, that will be holding the spear though, has a slightly more deformed palm that will help it hold in place. If we look closely, there is also a magnet inside the arm to help it attach to the main body. Next, we have the Calamity Queller that comes in 2 pieces. Here is all the final details of the spear. I already tried it, but you can't just attach the 2 ends of the spear together and then snap it into her arms. The resins are more rigid like that. It doesn't work like Nandroids or Legos. Instead, we need to slide the bottom half of the spear through her hand, and then attach the head of the spear in the front once it's across her hand. Now let's have a look at the main body. We will examine all the fine curves and details. There are several holes and openings that let us insert her arms and the cape. Here, there are some paint flaws on her red robe. You see there's a bit of silver on it. And the ornament on the middle of her chest is a little broken, unfortunately. Now let's attach the little ornaments on her chest piece, and then we'll turn them towards the direction she is swaying. Then we have arguably the main reason why I even chose this figure. This is probably the closest I've seen any unlicensed studio attempt to faithfully replicate the art style of the character, and I think they did a fantastic job. We can see they sculpted in her eyebrows, while her eyes are decal stickers. At the bottom is a metal peg to hold the head in place. I know some PVC figures that uses this as well. The shading on her hair kinda looks like ice cream, but that's probably a resin figure thing in general. There is a hole on her head with a magnet inside that will help us attach her black and white curved headpiece. Let's just position it correctly so it slides into place on its own. Now let us attach her head to the body. I don't think there is a magnet for it actually, so I think we kinda have to turn and fidget her head around until it feels tightly in place. Give it a little shake to make sure the head is not wobbly. Now we can attach her body to her eye space. They made the hole quite narrow and small, so we need to position her quite perfectly, otherwise she will not fit in. This also helps her stay tightly in place so she doesn't wobble a lot when you hold up her base. All that's left is her cape and two arms. The magnets will help them slide in smoothly like butter. It seems like we are supposed to put her head in last as it's blocking her other arm, so let's fix that real quick. And now her main body is done. Now let's move on to her eyes familiar stand thingy. We can see how the light reflects off the smooth light blue epoxy resin. All the arms are already attached for the most part, so it makes it look like a smooth singular piece. Although we can see some flaws if we examine very closely. Here we can see some bubbles inside the epoxy resin. Next, let us look at its head. It connects to the body and its hair braid using magnets. I already tried it, but I think it's best to attach the head last as there isn't much to hold it in place except for the magnet. And we can see here I can easily push it up and move the head. Let's attach her eye spear. There is a rubber strap at the middle of this back end that helps hold the spear in place, and let us attach the head. We can now fit the whole thing into the base. There is a hole and a magnet on the side to hold her two legs in place. Finally, we can attach her head. Slowly turn it until the magnet does the rest and it doesn't shake anymore. Now let us attach the talisman on her head. Next, we can now attach her braid and hair ornament, which is a bit tricky process. Basically, slide the connecting magnet part of the braid through the ornament opening, then attach it to the head. Do it slowly and precisely so the magnet can do the rest before the ornament falls out. We are at the final stretch now, so attach the remaining effects to the base. Let's slide the ice effects into the holes in the base. Snap in those talismans. And here she is in all her glory. This is the 1/6 scale resin figure that is priced around 310 USD during pre-order period starting October last year. The whole batch was completed at the end of March. The studio also gave some bonus goodies. Here is the Cloud Retainer's DMAS device badge, and then a commemorative card with Shenhe's design. Behind it is the studio logo and product number of my specific unit. Fun fact, 17 is still not the age of consent. On a more depressing note though, this tells us the number of units unlicensed market usually produce. There is only 50 of this 1/6 scale Shenhe figures in the entire world. And if you have seen the units that were listed on the resin selling websites, 50 is not even close to what they are ready to manufacture. The numbers are usually in the ballpark of 100 to 103. I could infer some reasons for this, mainly with the lack of proper licensing from the IP holders. Studios lack the budget to market what they are selling outside of small focus groups, and they have to rely on word of mouth through already niche content creators. There is probably also a fear of growing big enough that the IP holders go after them at some point, but I'm not knowledgeable in this department, so I won't say too much. The unpredictable nature of this market might also be daunting to most collectors as well. Would I recommend this? Well, how do I put it? I cannot even begin to dream of anyone making a licensed Shenhe figure that is better or even equal to this figure right here. She's undoubtedly in a league of her own in quality. The question is, can you even get your hands on one right now? Let's head on over to Shenhe, where most people buy their resin figures. Type in name, here she is. What was the original price again? 300 USD? Oh, what the fuck?